The message arrived at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat up in her bed aboard the human diplomatic station and stared at the glowing screen. The words were simple but carried weight that made her heart beat faster. Emergency session. Mandatory attendance. All council species required. She had been humanity's voice in the Galactic Council for 7 years now. In all that time, she had never received a summons like this. Emergency sessions happened perhaps once every decade. The last one had been before she was even born. Elena dressed quickly, made her way through the quiet corridors of the station. Her staff was already awake, their faces showing the same confusion she felt. Nobody knew what this was about, but everyone understood it was serious. The shuttle ride to the council station took 2 hours. Elena used the time to review everything she knew about current galactic affairs. There were no wars, no plagues, no natural disasters threatening any member world. Whatever this emergency was, it had been kept secret from everyone except the elder races. The council chamber was enormous. It had been built to hold representatives from over 300 species, though only about 200 currently held membership. Humanity's section was small and placed near the back. They were still considered a young species, having joined the council only 60 years ago. In galactic terms, they were practically children. Elena took her seat and looked around. She recognized most of the ambassadors from other species. The tall, silver-skinned Rithari sat to her left. The insect-like Morvani clustered together on her right. At the front of the chamber, elevated above everyone else, sat the 5 elder races. They had founded the council 2 centuries ago, and still controlled most of its decisions. High Chancellor Vorath of the Kathrani called the session to order. His species looked somewhat like Earth's octopuses, with multiple tentacles and large, intelligent eyes. He was over 400 years old and had led the council for the past century. Fellow members of the Galactic Council, Vorath began. His voice translated through Elena's earpiece. We have gathered to discuss a matter of great importance. Our long-range survey ships have made a discovery that will benefit all council species. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a small planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet was blue and green, with white clouds swirling across its surface. It looked remarkably like Earth. This world is designated Survey Point 7749, Vorath continued. It is located in unclaimed space, 3 months' travel from the nearest council territory. Initial scans have revealed something extraordinary. The image zoomed in, showing geological data that Elena did not fully understand. But she understood the reaction of the other ambassadors. Gasps and excited whispers filled the chamber. The planet contains the largest deposit of Nexium crystals ever discovered, Vorath announced. Enough to fuel council ships for the next 10,000 years. Elena knew about Nexium. Every spacefaring species needed it for faster-than-light travel. It was rare, valuable, and constantly in short supply. A deposit this large would change everything. However, Vorath said, and his tone became more serious, there is a complication. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed images of creatures walking on 2 legs. They had 4 arms and large eyes that seemed designed for low light. They lived in small communities, built simple structures from wood and stone, and appeared to use basic tools. The planet is inhabited, Vorath explained. The species has been designated the Veloxi. They are pre-spaceflight, pre-industrial. By our estimates, they are approximately 5,000 years from developing technology that would allow them to leave their world. Elena felt a cold sensation spreading through her chest. She already knew where this was going. The council has prepared a solution, Vorath said. We call it the Gentle Integration Protocol. Documents appeared on Elena's personal screen. She read through them quickly, and with each paragraph, her horror grew. The protocol called for the complete relocation of the Veluxi population. They would be moved to a different planet, one selected by the council. Their original world would then be mined until every crystal was extracted. The documents used soft language, words like assistance and opportunity and elevation, but Elena could read between the lines. The Veluxi had no say in this matter. They would be taken from their home, whether they wanted to leave or not. their culture, their history, their connection to their world. None of it mattered compared to the Nexium beneath their feet. The vote will take place in 6 hours, Vorath announced. All council members are required to participate. Lena's hand shot up. High Chancellor, I request additional time to consult with my government. This is a significant decision that requires proper consideration. Borat's large eyes fixed on her. There is no warmth in them. Ambassador Vasquez, humanity's position on this matter is noted. However, the timeline cannot be adjusted. The vote will proceed as scheduled. But surely the matter is closed, Vorath said firmly. All species will cast their vote in 6 hours. Those who do not vote will be recorded as abstaining. Alina looked around the chamber, searching for support. The Rithari ambassador avoided her eyes. The Morvani representatives were already nodding in agreement with the elders. Species after species showed the same response. Agreement or silence. She turned to her staff, keeping her voice low. Get me a connection to Earth. Priority 1. I need to speak with the Council of Nations immediately. As her team rushed to comply, Alina looked back at the holographic image of the Veloxi. They looked so peaceful. So unaware. Somewhere on that distant planet, families were eating dinner together. Children were playing games. Elders were telling stories about their ancestors. None of them knew that 300 light years away, their fate was being decided by creatures they had never met. None of them knew that in 6 hours, everything they had ever known might be taken from them. Alina clenched her fists beneath her desk. 60 years ago, humanity had been in a similar position. Newly discovered, technologically inferior, sitting on resources that others wanted. They had survived only because a species called the Mendari had spoken up for them, had sacrificed their own standing in the council to protect a world of strangers. The Mendari were gone now. Their seat in the council had been empty for 50 years. But Alina remembered their sacrifice. Every human did. She looked at the countdown timer on her screen. 5 hours and 52 minutes until the vote. 5 hours and 52 minutes to find a way to save a species. Did not even know it needed saving. Alina stood and walked out of the chamber. She had work to do. The communication room was small and cramped, but it had the most secure connection to Earth available. Alina sat in front of the screen waiting for the faces of the Council of Nations to appear. Every second felt like an hour. Finally, the screen flickered to life. 12 faces looked back at her, representing the unified government of Earth. They had been pulled from their beds, their offices, their family dinners. None of them looked happy about it. Ambassador Vasquez, said President Chen, we received your urgent message. What is happening out there? Alina explained everything. The discovery of the Veluxi, the Nexium deposits, the gentle integration protocol. She did not soften any of it. These leaders needed to understand exactly what the Council was asking humanity to support. When she finished, there was silence. The faces on the screen showed a mix of emotions. Shock, anger, fear, and underneath it all, uncertainty. If we vote against this, said Minister Okonkwo, what happens to our trade agreements? Our access to council technology? Our protection under council law? I do not know, Alina admitted. The elder races have never been openly opposed before. No young species has ever voted against them. Then perhaps we should abstain, suggested another minister. We can express our disapproval without directly challenging the elders. Alina shook her head. Abstaining is the same as agreeing. The protocol will pass with or without our vote. The only question is whether humanity will be remembered as standing against it or staying silent. The debate continued for nearly an hour. Arguments flew back and forth. Some leaders wanted to protect humanity's interests. Others felt they had a moral duty to speak up. A few suggested that the Veluxi were not their problem. Finally, President Chen raised his hand for silence. Ambassador Vasquez, I am not going to tell you how to vote. I am going to tell you to follow your conscience. Whatever you decide, Earth will stand behind you. It was not the clear answer Alina had wanted, but perhaps it was the right one. This decision was too important to be made by committee. Someone had to take responsibility for it. "Thank you, Mr. President," she said. "I will do what I believe is right." The connection ended, and Alina sat alone in the dark room for a long moment. Then she stood up and went to find allies. Her first stop was the Rithari delegation. The Rithari were a proud species with a strong sense of honor. More importantly, humanity had helped them during a plague 30 years ago, sending medical supplies and doctors when no other species would. Alina hoped that debt would mean something now. Ambassador Tyrell received her in his private quarters. He was tall and graceful, with silver skin that seemed to glow in the dim light his species preferred. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said warmly, "I was hoping you would come. Then you know why I'm here." Tyrell's expression became sad. "I do, and I wish I could help you. Truly I do. But the Rithari cannot oppose the elder races. We depend on their technology for our medical systems. Without it, millions of my people would die." "But you know this is wrong," Alina pressed. "You know what they are doing to the Veluxi is wrong." "Of course I know. But knowing something is wrong and being able to stop it are two different things." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I am sorry, Alina. I truly am. But we cannot stand with you on this." Alina visited 6 more delegations that night. The story was always the same: sympathy and apologies, but no support. Every species had something to lose: trade deals, technology access, political favor. The elder races had spent 2 centuries making sure that opposing them came with a price no one was willing to pay. As the hours passed, Alina found herself walking through the quieter sections of the council station. She needed to think. She needed to understand why this felt so personal to her. And then she remembered, 60 years ago, humanity had been discovered by council survey ships. Earth had been rich in heavy metals and rare minerals. The elder races had proposed a similar protocol, relocating humans to a less valuable world so that Earth could be mined. Only one species had opposed them: Mendari, an ancient race known for their wisdom and their stubborn commitment to justice. They had argued for days, used every political tool they had, and eventually forced a compromise. Humanity would be allowed to stay on Earth if they agreed to share its resources fairly. The Mendari had paid a heavy price for their actions. They were excluded from council decisions. Their trade routes were disrupted. Their influence faded year by year. Within a decade, they had voluntarily left the council entirely. Within a generation, they had disappeared from galactic society altogether. No one knew what had happened to them. Some said they had retreated to their homeworld and cut off all contact. Others believed they had simply died out, their population too small to survive isolation. Their seat in the council had remained empty ever since, a reminder of what happened to those who challenged the elders. But humanity remembered them. Every human child learned the story of the Mendari and their sacrifice. Every human ambassador carried their memory like a flame in their heart. Alina stopped walking. She was standing in front of the Mendari section of the council chamber. It was dusty and unused, but the seat was still there, still waiting for someone to claim it. An idea began to form in her mind. A dangerous, possibly foolish idea. But the more she thought about it, the more right it felt. She returned to the human delegation's quarters and called her staff together. "I need you to find something for me," she said. "I need the original council charter, the complete version, not the summary they give to new members. There's something in there that I need to see." Her team worked through the night. As the countdown timer showed less than 2 hours until the vote, they finally found what Alina was looking for. "Here it is," said her aide, pointing to an ancient passage in the charter: succession of elder status. If an elder seat is vacated, any species can claim it by invoking the principle of continuity. They inherit the previous species' standing and authority. Alina read the passage 3 times to make sure she understood it. Then she smiled grimly. "Imandari saved us once," she said quietly. "Now it is time for us to honor their memory." She looked at the countdown timer. 1 hour and 47 minutes remained. "Get everyone ready," she told her staff. "We're going back to the council chamber. And this time, we are not going to stay quiet." The council chamber was full when Alina walked in. Every species had sent their representatives. Every seat was occupied. The air itself seemed heavy with anticipation. High Chancellor Voreth called the session to order. His voice echoed through the vast room, calm and confident. He had no reason to expect anything unusual. The vote would pass, as it always did, and the council would move on to its next project. Before we proceed with the vote, Voreth announced, "Does any representative wish to address the assembly?" Alina stood. "I do, High Chancellor." A ripple of surprise passed through the chamber. Young species rarely spoke during major votes. They were expected to listen, learn, and follow the guidance of their elders. Voreth's eyes narrowed slightly, but he nodded. "The floor recognizes Ambassador Alina Vasquez of Earth. You may speak." Alina walked to the central platform where speakers addressed the full council. She could feel hundreds of eyes watching her. Some curious, some annoyed, some pitying the naive human who thought her words would matter. "Thank you, High Chancellor," she began. "I've studied the Gentle Integration Protocol carefully. I have read every document, every analysis, every projection. And I have a question for this council." She paused, letting the silence build. "How many times have we done this before?" The question seemed to confuse many of the representatives. Voreth's expression remained neutral. "I do not understand your question, Ambassador." "Then let me be more specific." Alina activated her personal display, projecting information into the center of the chamber. In the past 200 years, the Council has approved 17 integration protocols. 17 times, a developing species has been relocated from their homeworld to make way for resource extraction. She let the data speak for itself. Names, dates, locations, 17 species, scattered across the galaxy, moved like pieces on a game board. "I investigated what happened to these species," Alina continued. "Would the council like to know what I found?" No one answered. The chamber had grown very still. 11 of them are extinct. Their populations declined after relocation and eventually disappeared entirely. 4 of them survive, but only as labor forces on mining colonies. They have no rights, no representation, no future. The remaining 2 have been absorbed into other species through forced integration programs. She turned to face the elder races directly. 17 species, not one of them thriving, not one of them free. Is this what the Galactic Council calls protection? Voreth's tentacles shifted in what Alina recognized as irritation. "Ambassador, the circumstances of each protocol were different. You cannot draw conclusions from incomplete data." "Then let me draw conclusions from complete data," Alina replied. "The Council Charter states that one of our founding principles is the protection of developing species. It says we are meant to guide them, not exploit them. It says their futures belong to them, not to us." "Humanity's young," said Elder Moreth of the Thranics, his voice cold. "You do not understand the complexities of galactic governance. Resources must be managed for the good of all." "For the good of all?" Alina repeated. "Or for the good of those who already have power?" The chamber erupted in noise. Some species shouted in anger. Others called for order. The elder races exchanged looks that Alina could not read but did not trust. Voreth raised a tentacle for silence. "Ambassador Vasquez, you have made your position clear. Now please return to your seat so we can proceed with the vote." "I am not finished," Alina said. "You are finished when I say you are finished." "No." Alina's voice was steady. "I am not, because I am invoking the principle of continuity as written in Article 7 of the original Council Charter." The chamber went completely silent. Even Voreth seemed frozen in place. 50 years ago," Alina continued, "the Mendari left this council. Their seat has remained empty ever since, according to Article 7. Any species may claim an empty elder seat by declaring themselves the successors of the previous holders." She took a deep breath. This was the moment of no return. Humanity claims the Mendari seat. "We declare ourselves their successors in this council. We inherit their standing, their authority, and their vote." Chaos exploded through the chamber. Representatives were on their feet shouting questions and objections. The elder races huddled together in urgent conversation. Security officers moved toward the edges of the room, uncertain what to do. "This is unprecedented," Voreth shouted over the noise. "This has never been done." "But it is legal," Alina replied calmly. "I have read the charter, but there is nothing that prevents it. The Mendari seat is empty. Humanity claims it. The procedure is complete.
Ow!
The Elder Council must review this claim. The Charter does not require a review. It requires only declaration. Alina held up her personal display, showing the relevant passage. Read it yourself, High Chancellor. The law is clear. Vorth read the passage. His expression darkened, but he could not argue with the text in front of him. Very well, he said slowly. Humanity's claim will be recognized. But this changes nothing about today's vote. Actually, it changes everything, Alina said. As an elder species, humanity has the right to call for a formal investigation into any council action. I am calling for an investigation into the Integration Protocol program. All of it. Every species. Every relocation. Every death. Such an investigation would take decades. Yes, Alina agreed. It would. Which means the vote on the Veluxy cannot proceed until the investigation is complete. The elder races were furious. Alina could see it in their postures, their expressions, the way they moved. She had done what no young species had ever done. She had used their own rules against them. If you pursue this, Vorth said quietly, his voice carrying a threat, humanity will face consequences. Economic sanctions. Travel restrictions. Diplomatic isolation. You will be alone in this galaxy. Lena looked at her delegation. 20 humans, sitting in their small section near the back of the chamber. They looked back at her with steady eyes. They knew what this meant. They were ready. She turned back to Voroth. Then we have nothing more to discuss. Lena removed her translation earpiece and placed it on the podium. Around her, every human delegate did the same. It was the ultimate diplomatic insult. A statement that they no longer considered the council worth listening to. Then they stood as one and walked toward the exit. The chamber watched in stunned silence as the humans marched through the great doors. Alina did not look back. She did not need to. The message had been delivered. The doors closed behind them, with a sound that echoed through the chamber like thunder. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. The Galactic Council, for the first time in 2 centuries, did not know what to do next. Finally, in the back of the chamber, a young Rithari delegate began to clap. It was a human gesture, one that her species had adopted years ago. Soon, others joined her. Not many, but enough. The sound followed the humans down the corridor. A small spark of hope in a very dark night. 3 months had passed since humanity walked out of the council chamber, and the consequences had been exactly as harsh as Vorth had promised. Alina sat in her office on the human diplomatic station, reading the latest reports from Earth. Trade with council species had dropped by 70%. Human ships were being denied access to major space stations. Diplomatic channels had gone silent. For the first time in 60 years, humanity was truly alone in the galaxy. The economic impact was severe. Industries that depended on imported materials were struggling. Prices for common goods had risen sharply. Some people were angry, blaming Alina and her decision for their hardships. But the reports also showed something else. Something that made Alina smile. Despite everything, support for the walkout remained high. Polls showed that over 80% of humans approved of what their ambassador had done. Schools were teaching the story of the Veluxy to children. Artists were creating songs and paintings celebrating humanity's stand for justice. Alina had become a symbol, whether she wanted to be or not. A knock at her door interrupted her reading. Her aide entered with an expression that mixed confusion with hope. "Ambassador, you have a visitor." He came in a private shuttle with no identification. "He says it is urgent." Lena frowned. Visitors were rare these days. Most species wanted nothing to do with humans. "Who is it?" "Ambassador Tyrell of the Rithari." Lena was on her feet immediately. "Send him in." Tyrell entered her office looking nervous and exhausted. His silver skin had lost some of its glow, and his movements were quick and anxious. He kept glancing at the door as if expecting someone to burst through it. "Alina," he said without greeting, "I do not have much time. I took a great risk coming here. What is happening?" Tyrell handed her a data chip. "Everything is happening. The council is falling apart, and the elders are terrified." Lena inserted the chip into her display and began reading. The information made her heart race. Since humanity's walkout, 23 species had suspended their council membership, not withdrawing entirely, but refusing to participate until reforms were made. They called themselves the Alignment, and they had been meeting in secret for weeks. The elders tried to proceed with the integration protocol anyway, Tyrell explained. They ordered ships to be prepared for the Veloxy relocation, but no one would provide them. The species that owned the transport fleets all refused. Refused? How is that possible? Because you showed them it was possible. Tyrell sat down heavily in a chair. For 200 years, everyone believed that opposing the elders meant destruction. You proved that was a lie. You walked out, and you survived. You are still here, still speaking, still fighting. Lena looked at the data again. A species she had never heard of were now openly questioning council policies. Old grievances were being aired. Hidden resentments were boiling to the surface. There is more, Tyrell said. Some of us have been investigating the past integration protocols. What you said in the council chamber was true. 17 species destroyed or enslaved. But there is something worse. He pulled up another file on the display. The Mendari. We found out what happened to them. Lena felt a chill run through her. Tell me? They did not disappear voluntarily. After they left the council, the elders quietly sabotaged their trade routes, blocked their access to medical supplies, spread false information about them to other species. Within 30 years, the Mendari homeworld was completely isolated. Within 50 years, they were gone. Lena stared at the screen. The Mendari had not simply faded away. They had been systematically destroyed for the crime of helping humanity. We cannot let this continue, Tyrell said. The Alignment wants to work with humanity. We want to build something new. Something better. Before Alina could respond, her communication screen lit up with an incoming message. The source surprised her more than anything else that day. It was from the Veloxy homeworld. We have been monitoring their radio signals, her aide explained. They started broadcasting this 3 months ago. It took this long to reach us. Alina opened the message. It was not a video or a complex communication. It was simple, almost childlike. A series of sounds that her translation software struggled to interpret. Finally, it produced a result. 2 words repeated over and over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Somewhere, 300 light-years away, the Veloxy had learned what almost happened to them. They had learned that strangers from across the stars had given up everything to protect them, and they had found a way to say thank you. She wiped her eyes and turned back to Tyrell. Tell the Alignment that humanity is ready to work with them. Tell them we will build something new together. Tyrell nodded, relief flooding his features. There is one more thing. The elder races have requested a meeting with your government. Not the council. Them, specifically. They want to negotiate directly with humanity. Negotiate. They are scared, Alina. Their coalition is breaking. Their authority is crumbling. They need you now more than you need them. He stood to leave. You have changed the galaxy. Whether you meant to or not, nothing will ever be the same. After Tyrell left, Alina sat alone in her office for a long time. She looked at the message from the Veloxy, still playing on her screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She thought about the Mendari and their sacrifice. She thought about the 17 species lost to greed and indifference. She thought about the future and what it might hold. Then she began writing her response to the elder races. They wanted to negotiate? Fine. But this time, the terms would not be dictated by those who had held power for 2 centuries. This time, every voice would be heard. The galaxy was watching. And for the first time in a long time, it had reason to hope. 1 year after humanity walked out of the Galactic Council, Alina Vasquez returned to the same chamber where everything had changed. But the room was different now. The elder races no longer sat alone on their elevated platform. Representatives from the Alignment sat beside them, equal in height and authority. The young species sections had been reorganized, brought closer to the center of power. Even the lighting seemed warmer somehow, less cold and intimidating. Alina took her place at the speaker's podium. The chamber was full, every seat occupied by representatives who had traveled from across the galaxy for this moment. A year ago, many of them would have refused to acknowledge her existence. Now they watched her with respect and anticipation. "Thank you all for being here," she began. "What happens today will be remembered for generations. We are not just changing rules or procedures, we are changing who we are as a galactic civilization." The first order of business was the Veluxy Protection Act. Alina presented the document herself, explaining each provision in clear, simple terms. The Veluxy homeworld would be declared a protected sanctuary. No mining, no relocation, no interference of any kind until the Veluxy themselves developed spaceflight and chose to make contact. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only 2 elder species abstained. None voted against. As the results were announced, Alina felt tears threatening again. But she held them back. There was still more work to do. "The second matter before the Council is the Reform Amendment," she said. "This amendment adds one simple principle to our charter. No species may be relocated, exploited, or harmed without their full informed consent. This applies to all Council actions, past, present, and future." The debate over this amendment was longer. Some species worried about complications. Others raised questions about existing agreements. But in the end, the moral argument was too strong to resist. The amendment passed with a clear majority. Finally, Alina addressed the matter that weighed heaviest on her heart. "1 year ago, I invoked the memory of the Mindari to claim their seat in this council. At the time, I did it as a legal maneuver, a way to stop an injustice. But I have learned much about the Mindari since then. I have learned how they lived, how they fought for what was right, and how they died." The chamber was completely silent. The Mindari were not victims of circumstance. They were deliberately destroyed because they dared to oppose those in power. They saved humanity, and they paid for it with their existence. Lena paused to steady her voice. "I cannot undo what was done to them, but I can honor their memory. Humanity will hold their seat not as conquerors or replacements, but as caretakers. We will carry their values forward and fight for the principles they died defending." Applause began somewhere in the back of the chamber. It spread quickly, growing louder and louder until the walls themselves seemed to shake with it. After the formal session ended, Alina was approached by High Chancellor Voreth. The old Kathrani looked tired and diminished somehow. A year of crisis had taken its toll on him. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said, "I must admit I underestimated you." "Underestimated all of humanity." "You did what you believed was right at the time," Alina replied. "So did we." Voreth's large eyes studied her carefully. "What will you do now?" "You have achieved more than any ambassador in council history. Any position you want is yours." Alina smiled. "Actually, I have already submitted my resignation. I am going home." "Home? But why?" "Because there is work to do there too. I want to teach. I want to tell young people about the Mindari and the Veluxy and everything that happened. I want them to understand that one person can make a difference if they are willing to stand up for what is right." Voreth was quiet for a moment. Then he extended a tentacle in what Alina recognized as a gesture of respect. "The galaxy will miss you, Ambassador. You have been a worthy opponent." "I was never your opponent," Alina said, accepting the gesture. "I was just someone who refused to be silent." On her last day at the council station, Alina received an unexpected invitation. The Veluxy had sent a request through diplomatic channels. They wanted to share something with the species that had saved them. A small ceremony was held in the Cultural Exchange Hall. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to witness something unprecedented. The first official communication from the Veluxy to the galactic community, a holographic display flickered to life, showing a classroom on the Veluxy homeworld. Small children with 4 arms and large gentle eyes sat in rows, holding pieces of paper covered in colorful drawings. A Veluxy teacher spoke, and the translation came through clearly. Our children learned about what happened, about how beings from the stars fought to protect our world. They wanted to say thank you in the only way they know how. One by one, the children held up their drawings. Each picture showed the same thing from a different perspective: a blue and green planet floating in space, surrounded by stars. Some pictures included stick figures with 2 arms humans standing next to stick figures with 4 arms Veluxi. Many included a single word, written in careful, childish Veluxi script. The translation appeared below each picture. Friends, Lena watched as drawing after drawing was displayed. Simple artwork from children who had almost lost everything and did not even know it. Children who were now safe because strangers had cared enough to fight for them. The last drawing was different from the others. It showed the blue and green planet, but also a second planet beside it, Earth. Between them was a bridge made of stars. Connecting the 2 worlds across the darkness of space, beneath the drawing was a longer message. Translated carefully from the teacher's words, "We do not know when we will meet you. Maybe not for many generations. But when we do, we want you to know that we remember. We remember that you stood alone, so we would not have to. We remember that you chose strangers over safety. We remember that you were our friends before we even knew friends existed." Alina finally let the tears fall. Around her, representatives from dozens of species were doing the same. The galaxy had learned something important over the past year. Strength was not about weapons or resources or political power. It was about the willingness to stand up for what was right. Even when standing meant standing alone, humanity had walked out of the council in anger and despair. But they had sparked something that could not be stopped. A belief that the future could be better than the past. A hope that compassion could triumph over greed. As Alina prepared to leave the station for the last time, she looked back at the council chamber. New voices were already rising there. New ideas were being debated. New alliances were being formed. The galaxy was changing. And somewhere, across 300 light-years of empty space, the Veluxi children were drawing pictures of friends they had never met. It was, Alina thought, a good beginning.